Okay, welcome to Teachers to Teachers number 21. Another school year coming to an end, and we're looking at the best of 2016. I am Dean Dahl. I'm a sixth grade teacher in Edina, and I also get a chance. I teach sixth grade science as well as I teach a course called Middle School Skills and Support, where I get to play around with the technology and implement or try to implement some strategies that work in our one-to-one world. We're really blessed with a solid panel tonight, all the way from St. Peter, Minnesota down to Houston. And let's start from my left. It would be Alicia. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Alicia Brooks. I am the Secondary Instructional Technology Specialist in a small town southeast of Houston, and we are one-to-one program 6 through 12, where we have Chromebooks all the way 6 through 12, and then in the lower levels, I'll let my counterpart. She is the elementary version of me, and she can tell you what she has going on her campuses.
Susie, go for it.
Okay, I'm Susie Wilburn. I'm the elementary technology specialist at Alicia's partner. And like she said, we work not too far outside of Houston, Texas. Quite damp right now. But in my campuses, pre-K through 3, we have 4 next to 7 tablets per classroom, plus a couple of carts that they can check out. And then in the 4th and 5th grade, we have 4 Chromebooks per classroom, plus carts that they can check out as well.
Yeah, Susie has been an extreme help to me with my Nexus 7 world. Uh,
Nice.
Angie.
Hi, I am a STEM teacher in grades 3 through 6 in St. Peter, Minnesota. And in our classroom, we have iPads, and we have that one-to-one, at least in my space. But it's getting close to one-to-one in our district. And we have a mixture of iPads and Chromebooks.
Megan.
I'm Megan. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. I just put in my headset. So I'm Megan. I am the elementary elementary digital learning specialist for the Edina Public Schools, and I work with teachers K through 5, and our K through 2 teachers have iPads, and then our 3 through 5 teachers have Chromebooks. So I work with a variety of materials and a variety of teachers and a variety of settings. We have one French immersion school, and it's a blast. It's so much fun. Every day is awesome. So it's good stuff.
So Megan, while you're going there, what's one thing that jumps to mind that really went well in the best of 2016 for you that you've seen?
Best of 2016. There was some really cool things I saw done with maps this year. So one of the things that one of the media specialists at the school did was they opened up a map to anybody to edit, and they had kids take pictures of themselves anywhere around the world where they were reading throughout the year. And then they're continuing it this summer to find out where kids are reading this year and what they're doing. And so parents and students will take pictures of kids and then write a description of where they were and what was going on in the book they were reading. So I suggested, I was like, let's do like layers, and every grade level is a layer, and like make it really crazy. But we just did one layer, one thing. So it was a pretty cool idea, though. And then another cool tool that I saw being used this year that I just actually used last week was something called Plickers, Plickers. And what it is you use your iPad and your computer to display what's going on. And so students will hold up this piece of paper of their answers with like this QR code on it, but the QR, it's not a QR code, but it is a QR code because it reads it, it's black and white like that. I don't know how to describe it. And then each piece is a little bit different, and then they turn the piece of paper depending on which answer they want to see and hold up, and then you have instant feedback. Like you scan your iPad across the room in front of all of your kids, like you would read a QR code, but you're reading all their papers. And then all of the answers will be like, yes, red was no, and green has got it right, and then blue is opinion, and it's really cool. It's a great app, for something different, for instead of having, there's so many like response call and response systems out there, so it's just another different way to call and response, and it was pretty easy to set up. So I showed one teacher how to use it, and it was like, yep, we can use it for like two units and then move on to the next one, because there's so many different tools out there. So, but that was a cool one that I saw called Plickers, Plickers.
Susie, I
And
see
it's
you
all
nodding
free.
your head.
Yes, it's great because, you know, we don't have one-to-one in our lower grades, and we have a lot of teachers that use that because it takes their own phone or just their tablet. It's a perfect one. I really like it too.
And it's like every kid doesn't have to have their device open. You just use this piece of paper, and then you assign kids to that number of that piece of paper, and it's like, it works so great. Susie, I'm so glad you love it. I'm so
Yes,
glad.
absolutely.
I'm such a fan. I'm such a fan.
Alicia.
Well, let's see. One of the things recently, in fact, the last 2 months or so, I decided to reach out and I bought a Breakout EDU box. I guess it was. Yes. I bought one, like, I guess it was over last summer, but I hadn't sat down to use it, and I have a few teachers on my campuses that are like, push me to my limits, which I love because it makes me kind of reach out there rather than I'm comfortable with. The teacher said, I want to do this, and I said, great, let's do it. And so we created a breakout. It was for the book Night, and we did kind of break away from Auschwitz, and they had to answer all kinds of answers about the book and about the concentration camps. Well, once she did it, it kind of spread like wildfire and fire. I can't get that out. And so then we ended up, I don't know how many this year, but it was quite a few. And then we started doing a mix mash kind of thing where we had kind of Amazing Race-ish with a Breakout EDU box. So some of the boxes were lock boxes, and they had to all do each one of them instead of each group do just one lock. So those teachers were really just enjoying it. We were infusing Google Forms with it, so some of the clues would get the answer in a Google form correctly before it would give them the next clue, or it would give them the answer to the lock so they can open one of the locks for the box. So Breakout EDU is probably the coolest thing that we've done. The teachers loved this year.
That's very cool.
Could you, I'm curious about the Amazing Race portion. That's something I want to do.
Okay, well, this is really cool. There's a sophomore teacher that partnered up with a third grade teacher and a fifth grade teacher, so it was 2 different times. But she partnered up with I'll talk about the fifth grade one. The fifth graders had to write a paper. This is on a different campus. The fifth grade got partnered up with one of the sophomores. The sophomores then did some kind of annotation on the paper, comments through Google. And then they did a hangout after that where they got to meet their sophomore that annotated their paper. And then after that, they did the Amazing Race, where they did a field trip where they came over to the high school. And in the library, they had, just like an Amazing Race, you go to one station, you do the clue, or you do the hint, or you do, I'm sorry, I've got a 7-year-old over here trying to get in the camera. Anyway, they did one clue, and one of them was like they had to brainstorm about what their paper was going to be. It was about superheroes, so they had to brainstorm about different things about a superhero. And then they went to the next station, and they had to write it up in a Google Doc. And then once they wrote it up in a Google Doc, then they went to a next station, and then they had to answer questions about just writing processes. And when they answered those questions in the Google form, it would give them the answer to the lockbox, which gave them the next clue. So there was some lockboxes mixed in with all the Amazing Race steps that they had to do.
That is awesome.
That is incredible. Was there a lot of setup?
On both parts, the teacher that set this up, she's seemed like all of us. You know, it's one of those things. Oh yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. And then we end up spending up to 1 o'clock every morning trying to get things ready for it. But now that we've done it once, we know how it goes. But yeah, it was a little bit of a setup just to begin with because we really didn't know where to start or how to get started. But once we got started, we got in that role, then it wasn't so bad.
Very cool. Very cool. Angie.
Um, yeah, one of my biggest highlights would be our cardboard arcade night. So one of the fourth grade projects was to build an arcade game out of cardboard, and we definitely we watched Kane's Arcade and from YouTube and talked about that, and then they did some research on different arcade games, and a lot of them had background knowledge as coming from having experienced arcades, and so they could replicate one that currently exists, or combine a couple, or come up with a whole new design. But they designed arcade games, and then we invited the community and families to come play. It was I was terrified to see how it would go and turn out, and being the lead on it and not quite sure how it would go, it ended up going really well. We filled our entire gym, and then we had to go down the hallway and into the STEM room, and then into the classrooms down a hallway, and it was packed and hot, and had some great parent volunteers that came in at the end, and had a whole reward, like you could come claim your prizes. We had a whole prize zone, and we had a local company donate giant things of cardboard, so you had a creation zone. You could create that night, you could go play arcade, you could go claim prizes, and it was just a whole family event that was really fun. And in a 3rd through 4th grade building, it was really cool to see 4th graders as the leaders, and teaching and showing adults and 5th and 6th graders how to play my game and win prizes. So it went really well and got a lot of great support.
Hey, Angie,
Very
can I
cool.
ask you a question real quick? Or I just want to make a statement. The fact that when you said you were terrified of how it was going to go, I like the fact that you admitted that, because there's a lot of times people think that when we do things that it's like, oh, it's going to come natural and it's going to be easy and we're not afraid, and we all have this fear of oh my gosh, I hope this isn't chaotic. I hope people learn on this,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for being honest about that, because it is scary when you're doing something new, and some teachers don't realize that we feel that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was definitely scary. And then I was talking to another teacher, okay, I don't can you help me make sure I kind of have my T's crossed and my I's dotted? I'm not sure. I know I'm missing something. And so as we were talking, he's like, well, what do you think? Do you think it'll be a good turnout? And I'm like, I don't know. I've sent letters home. I've sent mass email. I've talked to the kids. I've talked to all the grade levels. I've talked to every student. And he's like, well, what if you did some rally during announcements in the morning? So then we came up with this whole thing. I pretended to be the superintendent one day and talked really low, and I think hooked some kids that way. So it ended up being way bigger than I thought it might be, but it all worked out.
Angie,
That's
that's awesome. That is so cool.
Susie.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna just a couple of quick things with Nexus 7 tablets. Teachers took off with their tablets. They absolutely loved it. They downloaded a stop motion video app that's free, and I believe it's even called Stop Motion. I'll look it up to make sure. But they actually put their kids in groups of 4 or 5, gave them Play-Doh and some clay, and had them write a storyboard out. They made their characters, and they actually learned how to do the stop motion. They would set one of the fathers even made little stands. It's almost like a bigger Scrabble. You know how the Scrabble letters are held? Mm-hmm. They made stands like that for the Nexus tablet so the kids didn't have to hold them. And you just click buttons, and those kids had more fun making those claymation videos. It brought in so many different things that they were able to work on, including some of the art critiques that they had to do. And then we also had teachers that would, in creative writing, they would have the students write their paper or write down their ideas, and they actually videoed their paper or their product that they made as they're narrating their paper. and so it gave them the chance to write and to speak and work on their speaking skills. Pretty cool.
Cool.
Very cool.
How did was it hard to keep them stabilized or mobilized? No, stabilized. Yeah, you want them set up tight. What did you use to keep them all in one spot?
Well, the creative writing teacher actually had them hold them, and so that was a little shaky. I think we'll do that differently next time. But the one that did the stop motion, her dad went out, got some blocks of wood, 2x4s, cut them up, cut a like a gash through the middle, and it fit the tablet perfectly. So the tablet was still, and then they just had their background and moved their little claymations around. That was a lot of
That
fun.
makes sense. That makes sense. That's really cool.
So,
That's
I'm going to
very cool.
piggyback on that, and Suze has been super helpful to me because starting out the school year, I have 8 Nexus 7s that I wanted to use more in my classroom, and I didn't really wrap my head around it last year, and we figured out how to set them up with my account, and then especially what I love is I merge all of the photos to my account. And with Google Photos, it is so slick. So what really started out as something cool initially, we just wrapped up this week, and it was even better. We bury some items, organic and non-organic items, in the fall, and then dig them up and see, how the decomposition is. So this year, I had each table take photos of their items. And then they blogged about it or journaled about it and saved the document in Google Classroom and forgot about it. But of course, they wanted to get back and dig it up. Well, we just dug them this week. And so they actually, especially the organic items, we had a salmon a portion of a salmon that was put in there and turned very gelatinous. And if we hadn't had a photo of it before, literally there's no way that you could have figured out that it was a fish because most of the bones had decomposed as well. And it was so fun to, I had them take photos as we were digging it up, and then I put them in an album, shared it with the kids through their email via Google Classroom. And the dialogue that was going on at each table as they were looking through their photos and comparing the before and after turned out to be something way better than I ever anticipated. So, Susie, thank you. There's no way it would have happened without you.
You're so welcome.
So that was my, just on that line with using photos and videos more, because the Nexus tablet, I am just so impressed with the photo quality that a pretty inexpensive tablet can produce.
Well, I'm going to pass your little project on to our science teacher, so that is awesome. That'd be really neat. Not sure I want to be around that salmon when I smell it.
Yeah. That sounds awful.
But it was pretty neat. Megan, let's go around the horn one more time, and I know we got a few, but we don't want to ramble too long. What else anything else or a tip to pass on before we shut down?
I think the biggest impact for my elementary teachers this year has been the use of Seesaw in their classroom and being able to share things with parents in such a seamless way. So my last tip would be to try out Seesaw if you haven't tried Seesaw yet. That'd be my last tip.
What would a hangout be without us talking about Seesaw?
I know. I'm really sorry. I bring it up like 4 times, but I cannot tell you like the impact it's made. And now they're for Seesaw for Schools, which I'm not trying to promote the product or anything because this is a paid version, but for Seesaw for Schools, they are bringing out like a standards-based grading folder system where everything is loaded in, and then the teacher just goes in and they just pick the projects that they do based upon the standards that they do. So it sounds awesome. I haven't seen it, but it sounds awesome. So, I'm sorry, but that has been like one of the biggest things that has impacted student and parent and teacher communication this year. So it's been a huge product. So,
is Seesaw anywhere in your district in Texas?
I don't think
No.
ladies, check it out.
I wrote it down.
Amazing. And it's free.
Yeah. It's good and it's easy to use.
Yeah.
We just started this year flexible learning days, so on the snow and really
That's
horrible
cool.
winter days, school is still in session, just at home, and in our primary and intermediate school, Seesaw is where we go and have that online learning space on snowy, cold days.
Ladies, it's
So
me.
I think I have one kindergarten teacher that had said she used it, and I found out she used it today. She's one of those
Okay,
that will
so
go out and type things on her own. So
yeah,
I
so
will
if
share
you
it.
guys get into it, get my information from Dean, and I'll set you up with like Seesaw blogging, which you can connect with teachers around the world to
Uh,
like bring classrooms together. So I have a kindergarten teacher right now, and she's connected to a classroom in India, Ecuador, and Japan. And they're all English speaking classrooms, but they're all kindergarten classrooms. So, like the first thing they did was like, here's what our classroom looks like. And then it was like, here are some foods we eat at lunch. And it was, here's what our recess time looks like. And so the kids were so interested in like, what's happening? Like when you do these things. And it was very cool. And then they share different videos and posts and questions and texts and pictures online through this platform. So it's awesome.
That's
I'm going to
cool.
give it a try next year, and I've
Yep,
Me
already.
Dean's
too.
in. I've already convinced Dean, so I need everybody else to do it.
Oh,
Yep.
Alicia, do you have another best or a tip to?
Let's see, another best. I'm just happy. I'm really happy with the way Google Classroom has starting to really evolve, and not become the LMS like they want, but more of the kind of duplicate the inside going paperless. And so it's helped a lot of our high school teachers go paperless. Not everybody, but more and more are getting there. And we even have, which excites me is our assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction has created a Google Classroom for the entire staff of the district. So all
Wow.
teachers are in Google Classroom, and that's how she's having the APs. We're going to a new observation system this year in Texas, and so that's how she's getting information out to the teachers, where she's having the APs create a video, and the teachers, it's their assignment, they have to watch the video and kind of get information about it. So and her goal was before the end of the year was to be able to do it without my help at all, and today she did her last assignment. All she did was have me on the phone and talk herself through it. I didn't even have to tell her what to do. So that was exciting, that, just the fact that it's evolving and going to a place where even people that are very uncomfortable with technology can use it, and kind of do the top down, show other people that, hey, if I can do this, anybody can do this kind of thing. So that was
I
Very
would
just another.
cool.
Cool.
I would totally agree with you because I saw a few teachers that jumped in to classroom, the second half of the school year, but it doesn't matter. They just wanted it to put, just to post and have that email access, and regardless, it's very user friendly.
Yep.
It is very.
Angie,
I would say another best. It was another new project I tried, and it all came from a student at the end of last school year. We use Spheros in our classroom a lot, and around the beginning of last school year, they had come out, or I don't know when they had come out, with the Ollies, a different version of Sphero, but made by the same company. And so I bought one because I was obsessed with Spheros, and we're just driving it around. And Ollies are cool. I don't think they're as cool as Spheros because they're not waterproof, and there's not a lot of coding and extension apps like with Sphero. So we're playing around with the Ollie, and I had a fourth grader last year say, what'd be really cool is if we like designed ramps to just launch this thing. And I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. So, mulled it over the summer, and I was like, wait, this totally fits with some engineering standards in fifth grade. He's going to be a fifth grader. Yeah, let's do this. So they had to design two different ramps, one for height and one for distance, to just launch these robots. Wrote a grant on Donors Choose and got 6 more, so we could get a bunch of kids going and testing. They had to collect data. They had to measure angles, and figure out the angle at which they wanted Ollie to hit. and then they had to give some research about, why you might want a different angle for different heights or distance. And then we did it at the end of the year, so we went outside and used our massive playground, like tarred space, and we just like cranked on those robots and launched them all over the place. And at one point I laid down because this one group made one that could launch a distance of just over 7 feet. So I laid down and had it jump me lengthwise and did a stop motion. I screamed in it, and I think that made them more entertained than anything. So just the success and the way the students took it, and that it all came from a student was really, really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Suze.
That is neat. Okay, my last one kind of combined uses two different teachers. Two different teachers did a twist on the Genius Hour, which is something I always found interesting, going to the Google Academy and the 20% time and all of that. And I had a second grade one, not so much tech, but they did the cardboard challenge. I don't know if y'all heard of that, where she just brought in a bunch of cardboard boxes, and each of the kids had to create something out of the cardboard boxes. So it just got their higher level thinking going. They did use technology in some of the research, but the actual building of the boxes they didn't. But my fifth grade teacher did her Genius Hour on wanted the kids to think ahead and think of what type of career they would want to have. And they had to do all kinds of research. They had to come up with a game that they could make, whether it's or a product. It could be a video, it could be a game, or whatever that goes along with the information they found. The coolest part that she did is she connected every single student with a person that is in that job.
Oh,
Correct.
wow.
Oh, cool.
So that was cool. The two that I had a lot of help that I helped with were two hangouts. She had a child who's interested in being a geneticist, and we're like, okay, where do we find one of those? And I actually put it out on our Google Teacher Academy hangout, and within less than 10 minutes, I had someone say, hey, I can connect you with someone that's a professor at a university in California. So we connected her with this professor, and then the other one is we connected a young lady who wants to be an author with an award-winning novelist, children's book, through Hangout as well. So
Cool.
it was a lot of time on that teacher's part, but it was so cool because she really stepped back, gave them some parameters, and then just became the facilitator. They were off and running. It was neat to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Isn't it amazing when
That's
they
very cool.
how they're motivated, and once they get rolling with something like that, how it just kind of takes on its own momentum?
Absolutely.
Be super cool to see where those kids go, like what career path they take and how much of this influenced that.
And that's what I told the teacher. She actually had a Genius Hour fair and invited the parents in to see their final products.
Cool.
And it was almost like a science fair, but it was for their career. So it was really cool.
Very cool.
Nice. Wow. I can't top that one, but I'm gonna leave with we've been using Screencastify, the extension, a lot as a tool to again produce video and stuff, and I use it for all my sub plans and so on, video sub plans. But something I'm very anxious, of course I'm going to have to wait a few years to see it, in our MSS class we write a letter to your future self, and we do it traditional paper copy in an envelope that has the address on, which is quite interesting because none of them, many of them have never addressed an envelope before. So that was new technology to them. So they did that, and then I heard this on a podcast, and with Megan's help, I had them use Screencastify, and I said, send yourself a message to your future senior self. So the first one was to when you finish up in middle school, and I'll hand the copy to them or mail it to them if they don't show up. But then so they used Screencastify, recorded it, copied the link automatically downloaded to Drive, then they took that copied link and went into their calendar and went out May of 2022 and set a reminder to watch their message to their future self, and they inserted it as an attachment with a reminder. So down the road, they're going to get tapped on the shoulder, and they're going to have this video from their 6th grade self waiting for them, which I think is crazy cool.
That is amazing.
I love this. I'm so excited about this, Dean.
That is exciting.
So yeah, it will be interesting. And again, if I asked them to write, or an LA teacher asked them to write a paper, they would, yeah, whatever. It was nearly 100% engagement because it was their product, and they, and they held themselves to a higher standard. So there's something to be said for that.
That is amazing. Alicia, Alicia actually has a couple of teachers on one of her campuses that has them write the letter. And the only reason I know that is my daughter was in that class, and it was pretty cool because the teacher held the letters until they were seniors and then sent them back to them their senior year. But the
Yeah, it's
video
been crazy.
amazing. That's really cool.
So yeah, hopefully we'll reconvene in 6 years and we'll reflect on how that went.
That might be about my exit year.
Yeah, that's somewhere in my ballpark. I'm with you, Suze.
Yeah. So.
Well, I'm going to thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Angie, Megan, and Susie. What an incredible panel. Just a wealth of information, and hopefully as we pass this on in our communities that people can gain some ideas to bring to their classrooms. So T2T, thank you all. T2T number 21, best of 2016. Signing off.